So this is question number 22. We have two classes. One is book, the other is audiobook. Book is the parent class, audiobook is the child class. In the parent class we have num pages and book title as instance variables, and we have a constructor, a toString, and a length method. In the audiobook, which extends book, that means that when you create an object of type audiobook, he has a num pages and a book instance variable, and he also has access to these methods here. And we also add a num minutes to the set of instance variables, and we have a constructor. Length is overridden, and we have a new method called pages per minute. So our question here is, what's the reason that best explains why this code segment will not compile? What the strategy here is look at every option and decide whether it is or is not, and then you might have two options that are right, that do explain why the code segment will not compile, and then you would choose the one that best explains why the code segment will not compile. So let's take a look at it. We have line number 2 right here, and it says that variables of type book may not refer to variables of type audiobook. That's not true. We can have a variable of type book on the left side and a variable of type audiobook on the right side. That's valid because the left side specifies which methods are available to be run by the object, and then the right side specifies where those methods are defined. So this is valid. It would not be valid if we had audiobook on the left side and book on the right side, because then we would have some methods in audiobook, or we could possibly have some methods in audiobook that have no definition in book, the parent class. Right? So parent on the left, child on the right, that's fine. And so that's good. Option B is line 4 will not compile because variables of type book may only call methods in the book class. So we look at line 4 here, and we got book sub 0, and book sub 0 is type book because it's part of this array of books, and we're running pages per minute. Now that is not valid because books, so for the reason that I just stated, it's like this variable here is of type book, which means that book specifies which methods are available to use, and the right side is where they're defined. And what is this? Right here. Pages per minute is a method that's defined in audiobook and not defined in book. So this would not run, right? It would break. So that wouldn't cause it to not compile. Line 5 will not compile because the audiobook class does not have a method named toString declared or implemented. So let's take a look at that. Line 5. Books.toString. Now that would be fine because the object is of type book, right? And if you look at the book class, it does have a toString defined. So when this object here is trying to run toString, it first checks, does this object have a toString defined in its class definition? And yes, book does have a toString defined in its class definition. Then it looks in audiobook class for the definition to run toString, but there is no toString defined in the audiobook class in the child class. So the object here then goes to the parent class, to the book class, and looks for a definition for toString, which it finds and it runs. So yeah, it's about priority when you're trying to run a method that consists of a variable of type parent class and a object of type child class. So we have option number D. 6 will not compile because the statement's ambiguous. This one here is book sub 0 dot length, and dot length is defined in the audiobook class, so that's fine. And I believe it's also defined in the parent class as well. Yes, so we have it length in the child class and the parent class, and what our program is going to do is it's going to look for the definition in audiobook, because again, the right side specifies where the methods are defined. So it's first going to look here in audiobook, it finds length, and it's going to run it because of course it is also declared here in the book class. So it's available to use. Then we run the definition in the child class, in the audiobook class. Okay, so that's not true. And then line E is line 7 will not compile because the element at index 1 in the array name books may not have been initialized. And that's not true because book sub 1 is initialized right here on line 3. It's equal to a new book, right? So yeah, the only option here that makes sense would be B. And that's the answer.